Hey y'all. All right, I had to share this moment because it's one of those moments that I recognize my growth. So I am attending a cacao ceremony this evening. For those of you who may not know, cacao is the fruit. You can find it in many places in South America. Um, But it's actually the fruit that chocolate, like the chocolate you eat and the chocolate bars and the Twix and the Snickers and shit, like milk chocolate, dark chocolate, is made from. So if you haven't, seen it or haven't, or not familiar with it, look it up. It's very cool. It's spelled CACAO, right? Cacao. Anyway, in certain countries, cacao is used and made into a drink, and and administered during ceremonies. So the spiritual effects of the cacao fruit, of the actual seed that's used to make chocolate, it's a heart opener. It's known as a heart opener. So those are the spiritual benefits or the spiritual effects that it can have on, your body, your spirit, and so on and so forth. So this is how it's used, as far as this is how it's been used in an indigenous way. That's the backstory. So I'm going to, like I said, a cacao ceremony this evening. And so my mom calls me and she's like, hey, what's up? And, where you going? It sounds like you're outside. So I told her, I said, well, I'm going to visit my friend. And then there's a cacao ceremony in the evening that I'm going to. She was like, so she heard ceremony. She heard cacao. She doesn't know what cacao is. So I said to her, so then she expressed her confusion and her concerns. And it's like, okay, well, what is that? What do you mean by ceremony? One of the first questions she asked me is that a cult thing? So anyway, I'm sorry. What do you, she's asking me like, what's cacao? What is it? So I explained it just how I just explained it to you in the context, right? Like it's a fruit that's made into a drink, and it's made with intention. It's a heart opener, whatever. And here's one of the first realizations of my growth. I would have gone into depth and tried to over explain and just like overdo wanting her to understand what it is and give her too much context or whatever. So I kept it very baseline about what it is, and I allowed her to now ask me whatever questions that she needed further clarity on. So she asked me, okay, all right, so it's like chocolate, so you drink it. So now she hears that we're drinking, right, in a ceremonial setting, and it's alarming to her, right? It's new. It's like, she asked me straight up, is that like a cult? What is that? Is that having to do with a cult? And so I was like, I don't know what you mean. I was like, what do you mean? What is that? And she was just like, like a cult stuff, like a cult. And I was like, and she was like, okay, no, probably not. So I said, so I was like, I forgot what else I said. I probably said something else that like defines the experience and the cacao ceremony or whatever. So then the next question she asked me is, when I said it's a heart opener, I'm like, well, it's a heart opener. We sit in ceremony, we pray, we set our intentions, we connect with one another, through this drink in ceremony. And she's like, well, is that like a godly thing, or is it like a demonic demon thing? Like, what is that? And I'm and again, another growth moment. Sorry for the noise. So another growth moment because she's asking me this, and listen, old V would have been so fucking offended. Like, what do you mean? Like, old me would have been so fucking offended. Like, lady, like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, I just would have been offended and very defensive. And I wasn't. I was calm. I understood. First of all, this time around, I feel like I came from the approach of just being appreciative that she was genuinely asking questions to gain clarity and understanding. She was not coming from a place of pointing a finger. She wasn't coming from a place, and I knew this and I felt this, right? I knew and I felt that she wasn't coming from a place of judgment. She was genuinely coming from a place of wanting to understand, and that made me more compassionate to answer her and to help her understand, right? Something that I am involved in, something that is healing and medicinal for me. And so that was really cool. Again, another growth moment, because in that moment I realized, like, her asking if it was godly or demonic, like, I would have just been so fucking thrown off and upset and, like I said, defensive. And honestly, there's no reason to be. So, boom. And then so when she asked me, like, if it was godly, a godly thing or demonic, I was like, Mom, I was like, why would I was like, I think I asked her, like, why would I engage with anything in demons? You know, I was like, do you know that do you know me to deal with that type of thing? Like, I was like, what about me is not like godly or, you know, like positive and uplifting? And so I posed a question to her, like, girl, you know me, like, don't be trying to play me like that. But I didn't say those words. You know, I just like posed a question that could get her wheels turning about what she was asking me. And so she didn't answer, of course, directly, but, you know, she was just like, okay. And she was still asking along the lines of, like, okay, so it's a heart opener. Like, what does that mean? I could tell she really didn't understand. And so, again, whole growth moment is that I didn't overcompensate. I wasn't trying to do too much. I didn't give her too much context. I said, she asked me a question and I said what it is, right? And it's like, I left it up to her. I trusted her capacity to understand what I was saying. So you know how, like, when you're talking to kids, you know, people say, like, you want to talk to kids like they're human beings. You want to talk to kids, like, not in that goo goo gaga baby type of voice, but talk to them, like, with a level of understanding. Like, don't underestimate or insult their intelligence. So it's like the same way, you know, when you're talking to people who just don't know certain things that you may be involved in, right? Like a cacao ceremony or different indigenous practices that even I'm still learning. Of course, there has to be a learning curve and a learning process for my my community, right? Like my friends and my family and my peers that aren't exposed or being exposed to those type of things. Like, I am their point of exposure. So I, you know, have to have that level of compassion and discernment and love, you know, love and patience, and not take their ignorance. And when I say ignorance, it's literally just ignorance means lack of knowledge, right? It doesn't mean you're dumb. It means you don't know. So, like, it's up to me not to take their ignorance and use it against them and think that they're judging me or take it personally or be offended or insulted by it. And that, my friend, is growth. Okay, so I'm very happy. And how did I summarize this interaction with my mom, knowing that she still didn't understand or knowing that she still had concerns and questions about what I was involved in as far as the ceremony is concerned? I said, well, listen, hey, I'll send you the link. You know, oh wow, hey, I'll send you the link about the event. I said it describes what cacao is and it describes what we're going to be doing in the ceremony. And so I was like, you can read all about it. And she was like, okay, all right, no problem. She was like, well, have a great day and just stay in contact with me. And, you know, and then it was fine. It was fine. And as soon as we clicked end on the phone call, I sent her the link to read up on the event and on cacao on her own.